Hey, what's happening, guys? So I hope everybody saw the news, but the PS5 is coming out holidays of 2020. So not this year, but the following holidays. So Christmas, Hanukkah, Yom Kippur, right around then. This is awesome news because we get a new console first emerging. Xbox, I'm sure, won't be too far behind. Nintendo, I'm actually not too concerned about because the Switch came out not too long ago, but I'm interested to see what they do too. But this is awesome. This means the next generation of consoles is here, and it's going to happen sooner than later. I wanted to offer, a couple of my thoughts here and see, through this article and just, so let's see what these people think is happening, and then I'll offer my 2 cents on this here. The PS5 is still going to play discs. Well, that's nice because I think a lot of people still like to go to the store and purchase discs from Gamestop. And if the PS5 did not play discs, that would pretty much destroy GameStop right there. They would have to rely heavily on Microsoft and Nintendo, and even then that would be more than a 33% dip in production because I don't think most people buy computer games from GameStop any longer either. So that's good. Increases our distribution channels for purchasing these games, which I like. So that's definitely good. Let's see what else we have here. The general shape, button inputs, cooling vents. I saw a concept design. I used it as my thumbnail. It looks crazy. I would bet money that it doesn't look like that when it comes out. It's just a cool looking, alien looking console right now, but PlayStations have always been sleek and slim and very functional. I mean, if you look at the PS1 to the PS2 and to the PS3, they've always pretty much just been rectangles. The latest one was like I don't even know. It was like a diamond. It's not an issue at all. I don't think it's going to look like that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay. I wanted to look at the specs. Okay, 8-core AMD chipset based on third generation Ryzen architecture with GPU taking the best bits of the Radeon Navi GPU family, built purpose solid state storage system. Okay, so basically what that means is that the processor in this is going to be way faster than the old processor in the PS4. I mean, that's obvious, but they're going even further this time by forcing it to be a solid state drive. I mean, if they weren't, that would be a massive mistake. That's awesome news because you can process information about 100 times faster or whatever the number is compared to a traditional processor. I have a solid state drive on my computer and I use it for a lot of my big commands like rebooting the computer, for example, and it takes like 15 seconds. People without a solid state drive that have to restart their computers, it can take up to like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So making it go from 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes down to 15 seconds. That's the type of performance we're talking about from the PS4 to the PS5. That's going to be processing all the colliders and all the physics actions and all of those different things that we can now use the solid state drive to our advantage as game developers. So that is absolutely huge. Let's take a further look here. AMD... two-punch CPU, GPU. Okay, so the GPU, the graphics processing unit, looks like we're going to have some ray tracing. I looked into that a little bit. Basically, it's advanced illumination that's used in Hollywood. It's going to help allow lighting effects to cast shadows and to look ultra high def. It's really good for the games to just look as amazing as they possibly can. That means that the developers are going to have a lot more time spent on making these games now. But I have seen, I don't know so much about Unreal, but I have seen in Unity that they're having some amazing baked lighting in the high definition rendering pipeline that makes creating dynamic and brilliant looking lights much faster and much higher quality. Unity has been showcasing that quite a lot lately, actually. So whether or not that takes advantage of ray tracing, I'm not exactly sure, but I would suspect that it does. Anyways, that is going to be primarily for the big companies that may even have their own custom game engines that might not even be using Unity, but a lot of them will be using Unreal, I can promise that. 8K TV support, which means far more detailed textures and larger ones at that. Basically, that's kind of where I'm starting to get a little nervous here. Textures are already so massive in games today. I mean, The Last of Us is coming out before the PlayStation 5, as is Final Fantasy VII Remake, and both of those games, from what I have seen, are pushing the limits of the PS4, and they look amazing. Now, why does that make me nervous? It makes me nervous because the amount of time it's going to take to actually create these game objects is going to be insane. It basically means that the teams now that are 500-600 people to create one of these massive games are going to have to maybe even double to like 1,000-1,200 people just to create a game. But the price point, everybody's still going to cry and complain, needs to stay at $60 per video game. So what I think is going to happen is that we're going to see a lot of companies push the PS5 to the limit. Only like 1 or 2 or 3 major companies are going to have the ability to push the graphics standard all the way to the limit without risking going bankrupt if the game doesn't sell well. So what I liked recently was I played a game. I even made a full walkthrough series on it called Remnant from the Ashes, and they didn't go for ultra real graphics in that game. They kind of made the game a bit stylized, and I think a lot more games are going to have to become stylized within the consoles as their tech improvements keep opening up, because making games for these ultra high definition graphics is just not feasible for these companies if they want to release their games at a $60 or a $40 price point. So that does worry me. I hope we keep having games go for stylized art, but if it doesn't, then I think we may see a few more companies go bankrupt. I mean, in the last generation, we had Visceral Games go bankrupt, and we lost Dead Space, and that was bad. And that was only, pretty much because they couldn't figure out Star Wars. And I know a lot of the demands placed on the developers to be as high tech as they possibly can puts pressure on them and ultimately causes a lot of these companies to collapse. Multiplayer game servers has nothing to do with the PS5. That would just be an internal Sony thing, so we don't need to go that. Audio will reach the new gold standard, new audio engine that will deliver immersive sound, particularly if you're using headphones. Okay, well, expect something resembling the experience seen with a Dolby Atmos setup. Okay, so I don't know what the Dolby Atmos setup means, but I have had a lot of surround systems in my life, and anytime you go like Dolby, back in the day it was DTX, anytime you would go Dolby surround, it was always an awesome experience. I'm pretty sure one of my family members actually had a pretty solid surround sound system for the old consoles, and it was already pretty tight. I'm imagining this is going to be for the people that are really trying to push the limits of the audio, and these are audio guys and audio junkies. For the average person, I doubt we're even gonna notice. Okay, so that's just Dolby Atmos speakers. Okay, so all of this doesn't actually interest me that much. What I want to look up right now is PS5 controller. So if we go into the PS5 controller, we have a couple of really cool things. It says triggers. Okay, so let's look at this. There are 2 key innovations with the PlayStation 5's new controller. First, we're adopting haptic feedback to replace the rumble technology found in controllers. With haptics, you feel a true broader range of feedback, so crashing into a wall in a race car feels much different than making a tackle on the football field. I like that. I don't know how it's going to work, how they're going to produce the vibration in the controller. At the end of the day, haptics, I imagine, is going to be just like different types of vibrations within the controller. I don't imagine the controller is actually going to like transform or like move in your hand slightly because you crashed into a wall super hard. I don't believe they're going to have hydraulics in these things. Otherwise, they're going to be $200 controllers. So haptics is probably just going to be a rumble feature that creates different rumble sensations for different types of things. The amount of different rumble features will greatly impact, the feel of games. Just thinking off the top of my head, if you're playing a game where you get hit by, blunt objects versus slashing objects versus falling to your death, all three of those could have different haptic sensations within the controller, which could make the game a lot more immersive, which is really cool. I like that a lot, actually. I hope they nail that. The second innovation, adaptive triggers. So I believe on the bottom side of the controller, they're going to have like 3 sensors right here, like 1, 2, 3. And those sensors are going to allow us to feel sensations like drawing a bow and arrow, or I guess we'll just use these examples here, accelerating an off-road vehicle through rocky terrain. In combination with haptics, this can produce a powerful experience that better simulates various actions. So I don't know how that's going to work. I'm imagining that you're going to have to, maybe if they have like pressure sensors, when you're drawing a bow, you're going to take your hand and you're going to squeeze on the sensor. And as you squeeze on the sensor, it's going to allow the person in the game to draw the bow stronger based on the sensation that the controller feels. And then with the haptics within the controller, the specific vibrations they're going to have, the controller is actually going to feel a lot more like an object that you would be using within the game, giving you, again, a more dynamic experience. I really like these upgrades. This is way different than the traditional upgrades where it's like, better graphics, better audio, slightly updated controller. Okay, that's the new console. That's kind of like, in a Blu-ray player. That was like what they were throwing us, back in the day from PS2 to PS3. This time, I'm happy that they're going processor heavy. I know the PS3 to the PS4 was a big processor upgrade. This, again, seems like a massive processor upgrade. GPU seems like they're getting a solid upgrade, too, and allowing it to have ray tracing is good. I'm not sure about that GPU. I'd have to look it up, but from just the sound of it, it didn't sound like it was a top-end PC GPU. I would be shocked if they were really doing that. Otherwise, these consoles would be like $800. So probably middle-of-the-line GPU right now, but that's okay. I'm happier that the processor's stronger than the GPU anyways, because we don't need higher graphics rendering anyways. We need the games to process and not lag as much. And I think these new button controls through haptics and the sensation triggers on the bottom of the controller, those are going to be awesome. Totally new dynamic experience for the PS5. So guys, I'm really excited for this. I think this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what the game developers come up for these games. Yeah, this is going to be awesome, man. Real pumped. This is, oh wow, I didn't even read this before. I'm gonna stop after this. The new UI will allow you to see more details on what you can play at any time, as well as more of what your friends are doing. Blue Point Games, the studio behind the remakes such as Shadow of Colossus and Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, is working on a PS5 game that it says is a big one. Okay. Whatever that means. I don't like Call of Duty games, so I don't care if it's a big game. Honestly, it could be terrible. It could be great. But yeah, guys, if you're liking the content that I'm producing, like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to stay on top of video game news as often as possible while I'm doing my video game development. And that is it for this one. Follow me on Instagram if you can, Twitter as well, GamerDevTim, and I'm here to help you guys with all your gaming news. See ya. Bye.